Good evening, everybody. This is Officer Brush from Officer Brush Talks About Stuff. And today I have a special guest with me, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, yeah, my name is Ming. I go by Brother Ming Games. It's a Chinese kind of moniker to call people you're friends with or close with, brothers. So in Chinese, I go by Mingge. And yeah, so I have been making board games for several years now, and I'm now publishing my first game, designed by Chris Lin, a good friend of mine, and Eric Zerain. And all three of us basically had a large hand in it, but I'm acting as the publisher. So we're self-publishing through Kickstarter, and it's going to be launching next week or a week and a half from when we record this. November 29th. Hopefully, when you hear this, if it's already up, we're already doing good. Hopefully, it's the first one, so fingers crossed. But yeah,
Nope.
I'm Brother Ming. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah. And by designing board games, you've actually done a Fire Emblem one. That one was ended up getting featured by Kotaku, right?
Yeah, so my claim to fame, or really how I got thrust into this world, is basically through the silly little fan game I did 6 years ago. 7 years ago, I think actually. I had been designing board games for quite a while. I started in 2014. Uh, after discovering BattleCon, and I
Mm-hmm.
was obsessed with that game. I loved BattleCon. Got really, really into it, and then I started designing games for fun, just to just to mess around. It was in college, and then when I graduated, I kind of cooled off of it on it. Did my 9 to 5 grind, regular job, but I kept just playing with game design on the side, and then Fire Emblem Heroes came out, which is this mobile gotcha game, and then I sunk way too much money into it. So I decided I can't, I can't keep spending money, trying to pull my favorite characters. So I decided to make a little fan game, a print to play game, based on Fire Emblem Heroes, so that I wouldn't have to keep spending money and just get all the characters I wanted that way. And I uploaded that to Reddit. The Fire Emblem Heroes Reddit liked it. It was fun. It was like, finally a board game of a video game. I can't wait until there's a video game adaptation of this board game with this video game. It's great. The memes is good. Everybody had fun, and it was a fun little project. I was just vibing until one day, Kotaku picked it up. Like a year
Yeah.
after I had started this project, it had been pretty mature at that point. And I remember the article going up on Kotaku while I was grocery shopping, uh, in this Vietnamese farmers market, and then all of a sudden, like my phone just went crazy, and then I was just very, very forcefully thrust into the board gaming world, as a whole. Because I think at the time I was mostly just like I was just playing video games, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
board games are fun. And here's my little silly card game fan project me and my friends were messing around with. When I say my friends, I was showing it off to people and they would play it. And then people were like, "Hey, this is a solid design. Like, you should, try talking to publishers about it. You should go to board game conventions." So that's what I did. I went to a proto ATL, and then basically haven't known peace since. I've just been grinding and grinding, making board games ever since. Yeah.
Okay. And when you were designing just the board games in general, I know you said you want to do it because you were a fan of the game, but like what kind of mechanics did you end up finding were your niche that you were able to kind of get down?
Specifically to the Fire Emblem game, or just in general?
Just in general.
So yeah, I got into board games because of BattleCon. So I love one versus one dueling games. Like I that's my favorite genre of games. Um, and so React, the game that I'm publishing now, similarly to the Fire Emblem fan game, is a one versus one dueling game. And it's heavily inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh, which I also played a ton in high school. I was a huge Yu-Gi-Oh
Okay.
Magic nerd. I played during the Teledad Lightsworn era. For those of you who play Yu-Gi-Oh and listening to this, but yeah, I
Yeah.
am really into one versus one dueling games. So React, the game that I'm publishing, designed by Chris Lin, is one versus one dueling at its core. It is refined down to a sleek edge, taking away all the complexities a lot of these dueling games tend to have because of the bloat of the collectible nature of them, where cards get very complex, and
Yeah.
really streamlining it down into a board game where every card only has like a couple words in terms of their effects. The effects very simple, and we have a grid instead of just a regular my side your side. So there's a lot more dimensionality to it.
Hmm.
So yeah, like as far as mechanics wise, like I love dueling games. I love games that are just cards, combos, and figuring out how effects build on top of each other, like chaining effects. I'm a programmer by day, so like I think any kind of game where the effects can chain
Yeah.
naturally appeal to me. Like I like it because it's you you take the game pieces as building blocks in terms of how you play the game, instead of a lot of more modern board games where cards are more nuclear. They're not really like building off of each other.
Yeah.
Uh Unless it's like an engine building game, then you're building an engine. But I really
Hmm.
like the card stacking variety of games. So yeah, that's
Okay.
that's basically my favorite mechanics for sure.
Okay. And I saw that some of that translated over to React. So tell me what's unique about this. Like, how do you play around? Like, what's the goal and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so React, it is, I like to call it Yu-Gi-Oh on a grid because it's very much so inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh on a grid. The turns are more Yu-Gi-Oh-esque than modern board games because there's no like uh rigid turn structures.
Yeah.
Uh in React, you draw one card per turn, and on your turn, you just play as many cards as you want. There's no limit. It's not like most modern board games where it's like, hey, play up to 3 action points worth of cards per turn, and then draw back up to 5 at the end of your turn. Or games where every turn it's like, oh, step one, pick an action from a list of 3. Step two, pick an
Yeah.
action from. In this game, it's more like classic TCGs where you can just play your whole hand on turn one if you want, but you only draw one card per turn. So card advantage is the only resource in this game. That and your life, of course. The objective is a dueling game. The objective is deal 3 damage to your opponent. So other than your life, your only resource is how many cards you have in your hand.
Okay.
Uh, and so on your turn, you can play as many cards as you want. And all of the cards in React is based on what we call the reaction chain. Hence why the game is called React. Every card in the game is either an intention card, which is blue, or a reaction card, which is orange. So on your turn, you're the only player that can play those blue intention cards. And then
Yes.
once a blue intention card has been played, both players can then take turns back and forth playing reaction cards, basically effectively building up a stack of reactions. And then once both players have passed playing more reactions, the reaction chain, which is stacked up from intention, you played an intention, then your opponent plays a reaction, then you play a reaction, your opponent passes, you play
Yeah.
another reaction, your opponent passes again, you pass again, then the stack is resolved. I mean, it's completed, and then it resolves top down. So from the last card that was played back down to the first card that was played.
Okay.
Which, if you played Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Legends of Terra, this is a
Yeah.
very common kind of mechanic in a lot of these competitive TCGs, which is
Yeah.
first in, last out. And that's really what React is. It's really trying to emulate that feeling, that competitive feeling of we're going back and forth. You've activated my trap card, but you didn't account for my trap card. That kind of vibe,
Yeah.
right? Uh, so the game itself, the effects are really simple, but because we have this chain on top of what a lot of these TCG games don't have, which is a grid, that dimensionality makes these very simple effects very complicated.
Yeah.
Um, I'll walk you, like you said, walk you through a turn, right? I really like this exercise because it really shows off how this game is different. So in Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic, on a turn you have some monsters and you want to attack it. Just say I attack with this creature, and the creature just attacks, right?
Yeah.
Well, in React we have a grid, so I have a creature that might say, okay, this creature can attack one space next to it. So my summon is going to attack an adjacent space to attack you. So that goes on the stack as the number one intention. That's the first thing that creates a
Yeah.
stack. So now my opponent, if he doesn't do anything, if he doesn't react and I don't react, and we just let it's gonna hit him. But my opponent might have a reaction card that says, I'm gonna swap spaces with you. So he plays that on top of it, and that's gonna go on the stack. And now if I don't have anything to react to that, that resolves. He's gonna swap, and then my original attack is gonna attack the space that I originally targeted. So my monster is gonna end up hitting itself.
Okay.
So that kind of like dimensionality of, well, the initial effect, that intention targets that zone, but my opponent can react to it by swapping spaces. So, in a regular game, this might just be an effect card that says, redirect an attack or whatever. But here we have a board associated with it. So in reaction to his reaction, if I don't want my creature to hit itself, I might play a reaction that then forces my opponent to move somewhere else or force
Yeah.
my creature to retreat. So now, when if my card resolves first, I force my creature to retreat. Then my opponent, he's not going to be able to swap spaces with me because we're no longer next to each other. So his effect fizzles, and then my original attack lands. It's this idea of building the
Okay.
stack a chain up, and carefully making sure that when your original attack resolves, it actually hits. Or if your opponent, tries to attack you, use reactions, basically the "you triggered my trap card" to
Yeah.
make them punch themselves in the face. That's kind of how this game works, turn by turn.
It's a very in-depth strategy where you're just trying to make sure that you're building your chain to your benefit on your turn or on the opponent's turn, because that's what the reaction card.
You're always, both players are always in the game, basically.
Yeah. And each character is unique, right?
Yeah, it's a character fighter. It's going back to BattleCon XC, these games where you pick a character and you just go. So there's going to be 8 characters in the game. You just pick one and go. And every character plays in totally different ways. They have their own unique resources, their own unique cards. Um, like I said, the only thing that's common between all players is number of cards in hand, and even that technically gets broken. So only 6 of the characters have cards. 2 of the characters aren't even card characters. They're one character is an actor programming character, and the other character is a dice allocation character. So they're all very, very different. So
Okay. So it's very much just like in an anime where you come up with, like in JoJo, where every single stand has a different ability.
yes, every character is very different. We have a couple of characters that are very visually JoJo's inspired. The animator, so all the characters are different types of artists. The theme of the game is you play as an artist with magic powers, very, very anime bullshit style. The animator, his whole thing is he summons different animation dolls. So he summons a 12 FPS Chan, a 24 FPS Kun, and then for his ultimate ability, he's able to summon 60 FPS Sama, the 60 FPS god animation frame. And his 60 FPS Sama is literally just a JoJo stand. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very, very anime inspired. It has a very, very strong anime aesthetic, and I want to say it's probably the only, as far as I know, currently it's the only anime game being published by a team of Asians in the West. No, I love BattleCon, I love Level 99, but no shade to Brad. His profile picture is him wearing a cowboy hat, smoking a pipe. He's a great guy, but he is as white as bread can be.
Okay.
And Japan Games, I don't think they actually have any Asians working there. But
so the theme of the artist having things come to life and gaining special abilities, it reminds me of an anime, RE Creators, the Recreators.
Oh yeah.
Where their story characters came to life and started battling everybody, or like their anime characters came to life. That's just like
this is the reverse isekai. I remember this, where they come into the real world. Yeah, this is a solid show. The army general girl who like it's like a mech.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this was a wild show. This was peak isekai when everything was getting isekai'd, and so everything was getting reverse isekai'd, and we had like isekais of isekais, and then like subvert the genre, like Devil's a Part-Timer, Recreators, and then isekai it's come back full circle. Now isekai is going back to the vanilla roots.
There's some strange ones still, but
yes, the light novels of isekai just get weirder and weirder. There's an isekai about basically Magic the Gathering, where a card game player gets transported into another world, but he's able to summon creatures from his deck of cards. He gets transported into the world of his card game.
Yeah,
there's an isekai about everything. It's great. It's what a genre. This genre has exploded.
it's weird because people try and make everything fit into it, like the vending machine one and
Oh man,
the one where he got
yes.
reincarnated as a sword. Just all those like very
There's
obscure things.
there's a sauna. There's a one where he gets reincarnated as a sauna. That's a good one.
Yeah, my favorite anime that I watched when I was younger was Code Geass.
Oh my
That one,
god. Oh, you and I.
yeah,
Whoa, all of a sudden we have to be really good friends. That's actually my favorite anime. And
yeah.
actually on the Kickstarter page that I'm building right now in my like little who am I blurb, it says my favorite anime is Kogias.
Oh, okay,
This top shelf of my figurine shelf is actually dedicated to Code Geass only. You can see
okay,
Lelouch right
yeah.
there, Colin, C2. I have an alternate Lelouch back there.
I'm gonna say, yeah, you
Uh,
have Lelouch as the Emperor. That's like the
yeah, and I have the movie Lelouch.
okay,
Man,
okay.
yeah, Code Geass is by far my favorite anime. It's like not even close. I love that series.
It was one of the first ones that I got a chance to really watch, and it just kind of the story was really good. The second season had its moments where it kind of was strange, but overall the story was good.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I recognize that it's a little like fast food. So it's like not
Yeah,
like it's very very like over the top, a little trash, a little cringe, but it's just
yeah,
beautiful for what it is. It's like teenage angst plus giant mecha robots plus ridiculous politics. It's great. It's
yeah.
like
It
I love that show. It's so good.
it's a good one, and I think one of the ones that I enjoy every once in a while watching the animes that are just meant to be enjoyed and not really have a story, like the ones that came out recently, the Misfit of Demon Academy and all those kind
Oh
of
yeah,
ones.
some of these like overpowered main character ones are just literally garbage food. They're just just turn your brain off and just watch for stupid. And then there's also the stupid ones. Me and my wife is right now are watching going through Rent a Girlfriend, which is oh my
Yes,
god, what a garbage great show. It's so fun.
it's just as
Uh
silly as the Oran Host Club.
Oh man, Oral Club has a lot more heart. At least that show has a lot of heart and some very like lovable characters. Rent a
Yeah,
Girlfriend is just frustrating, but like in a hilariously good way. Oral Host Club is good. That's a classic. Yeah, yeah, you're old
yeah,
school. Yeah, if you watch Code Geass, then yeah, you've been watching anime for a while then.
yeah, yeah. I've
Same as me. Yeah,
been watching it since I was in high school, so
yeah.
I'm 30 now.
React is
So
perfect for you. Same. I
okay,
just turned 30. Just hit the big 30.
yeah,
Man, it
yeah.
only gets worse. I've been told. Yeah, no, Code Geass.
One day you're eating food and now you can't. You know, it's just one of
Yeah.
those things.
One day you're able to stand up, and next day you wake up and your back hurts for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Man, yeah, no, React is gonna be perfect for you. It's literally everything I wanted to make. It's just like this very very over the top anime dueling game. But it has a lot of heart. All the characters are really really well inspired. I think like the main
Yeah.
character, the calligrapher, is like heavily inspired by my own grandfather, who was a calligrapher, and the designer's mom actually teaches calligraphy.
Oh
And so
wow.
we have a lot of like these weird, crazy, in-depth lore dives of how these characters work. But like, it's basically OCs, right? They're basically our original characters. So like we have
Yeah.
all this lore in our heads. We're gonna lore dump. We're gonna make an art book. We're gonna lore dump it into the art book that nobody's gonna buy.
Okay.
So
Well, you know, you could always make it like a digital one for stretch goals or something.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're putting the physical art book as like the highest tiers. Like if you buy like the all in, because there's really not a
Yeah.
lot. We only have like three tiers. We have the game with upgraded components, and then the game with the upgraded components plus an art book. Basically,
Yeah.
that's the
And
three
speaking of
tiers.
upgraded components, you guys are actually kind of starting off with high quality stuff to begin with, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
got
so
acrylic stands.
those acrylics are actually part of the deluxeification. So like the base
Yeah.
game is $60. $60 with all your characters, and it's just gonna be cards. Like the characters will come in tuck boxes, and then the characters will be on the grid as cards. And which is obviously, functional, just like any other card game on a grid. like Summoner Wars, those style games. But
Yeah.
then for the deluxeification, which is $40 more, is 28 acrylic standees, 28 unique acrylic standees, which is a lot. It's a lot of very, very thick, very chunky acrylic standees, and I have one here
Yeah.
without the base, but yeah, they're
I yeah.
almost
Oh
4
wow.
inches
Yeah.
tall. They're very, very large.
Yeah. And it's full color too.
Yes, so I like them a lot more than minis because with anime art, you can actually see what the characters look like that way.
Yeah. Well,
But
and with anime style characters, I mean, the only way to make them would be to make a miniature that's on like a sprue or something, and those get super expensive really fast.
yeah, I find that anime characters don't like the anime art doesn't really translate into 3D miniatures very well. Like they translate great into larger miniatures, like especially if it's a chibi style, like Arcadia Quest did a pretty good job with it. But like actually, like uh regular proportion anime characters, the art just
Yeah.
doesn't look that good in tiny minis. Uh, I mean, minis just don't have a great track record with making facial faces look good, anyways.
Yeah.
Anime really relies on the face to sell the style. So yeah, with anime art, I think the acrylics were the way to go. It looks so much prettier. And here's with the base. And on top of that, it's actually practical. A big reason why we wanted to do this because as a card game, and Summoner Wars, those who've played games like that, you have your cards as units on the board, and as the cards move, like if there's tokens on the card, you just move it with the card. Well, a miniature can't carry anything, right? So
Yeah.
at most, you can give it a base to mark its color. But with these acrylics, with the base, they can carry tokens with it. So like if I want to mark it with a token, and just put it on
Yeah.
the base, and then as you move this acrylic stand, you can just carry whatever you put on it. So it's very
Yeah.
practical in that sense. I don't
And,
have any
and that
tokens, so this is
also
a heavy metal coin.
that also helps you keep track of when they're tapped or not, right?
Yes, you just so on the board, you just when you have a card, you would just tap the card. But
Yeah.
with an acrylic standee, you can actually tap it 90 degrees. And in miniature, it's really hard to tap a miniature 90 degrees. I mean, you can if you're really into like war games, then you're more like accommodated with miniatures and their directional
Yeah.
facing. But for most minis games, they don't really have directions.
Well, and most of the board gamers in general, they don't really care about miniatures. They care about the gameplay.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, if that was the case, minis games wouldn't be the only things raising
No,
multi-million dollars.
they raise multi-million-dollars because they want to sit on the shelf of shame for
Oh yeah,
years,
yeah.
not
That's how
even
it
touched.
is.
The people just collect them. They don't actually get to ever play the games.
I don't
I'm one of
really
those
see the
people.
appeal, yeah, of
The
collecting
only
miniatures.
the only game that I've played with the miniatures has been I've done some Warhammer, but
Oh,
or
there you go.
really Kill Team though because Warhammer takes too long.
Well, that's a
And
war game, so like that's a
yeah,
miniatures game.
and then Kingdom Death Monster.
That's a big one. That's the big one.
Yeah.
But like right now on Kickstarter, even you just look and we have Oath Sworn.
Mhm.
We're about to get the Elden Ring miniatures game, which is going to be $1,000.
Exactly. And I
You're
mean, I
buying an
just
iPad for that, Jesus.
you could buy a PS5 in the actual game.
It's
If you
true.
really
You could
want
buy
to,
two
so.
PS5s and two copies of Elden Ring for the price of an all-in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
It is insane how much they're gonna charge for that game. Oh my
But
god.
people are gonna buy it because they're
And it's
collectors
miniatures.
and they want
Miniatures.
them. Yeah. I mean, I used to be like that where I would just collect miniatures and go like, oh well, one day I'm gonna paint this. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm
Oh
not.
man.
Nowadays it's like I don't even have time. I got 3 kids at home that
Oh
I don't
boy.
I don't have time to paint. I hardly ever have
Yeah.
time to play board games now. It's that's
Yeah,
why
that's how I feel.
that's why I moved on from I used to do board game reviews, but now I mainly just do these kind of interviews because it's a lot easier just to talk to somebody and put it online than it is to review a whole board game and go through that whole system of reviewing it and then posting that up.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't shame people for what they want to spend their money on. I just don't see the appeal of a big box. Right. Like I spent a lot of money on anime figurines. Some of
Yeah.
these are multi-$100. Like the Code Geass movie one was like $400. But like it's gorgeous. It's a full color piece. And it's just got so much going on, and you can actually display it like it's meant to be displayed. And for people who see your video, you can see how pretty this is. Like it is incredibly detailed, and these are usually hand painted
Yeah.
to a large extent, which is what drives up the value so much.
Yeah.
The cheaper ones that are like Papa Parade, they're like $30. They're pre-colored, machine painted, and there's not a lot of hand painted detail.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to
Knocking
fix
all
that
your
later.
knocking all your people over.
But
Um
yeah, like a $400 box versus a $400 statue. I feel like it's night and day. Like I don't
well,
even see the comparison.
and I've seen those. I've only seen them on TikTok. I've never seen one in real life, but the huge statues that people buy that are the
They get really
models.
big. They
Oh
get really
yeah.
big.
Those things are pretty crazy. They're all magnetized and everything. And it's like I can't even justify looking at the price for those because they don't have prices. They're just like you got to reserve it
Yeah.
and then you just pay for it later.
I haven't committed to buying anything like that yet. I've mostly stuck to official
Yeah.
mass-produced figurines. But they get pretty intense. There's this like guy on YouTube who does woodworking, and he creates wood carved like anime statues. And he takes commissions, and it's like $1,000 for one, and like, it seems
Yeah.
so worth it. Like if I ever move up in life, have a house instead of an apartment, I would love to buy one of those pieces, man. Like a hand carved anime statue out of wood. Oh my god.
Yeah. But I mean, so what other kind of anime or things do you like to do as part of your hobby? I mean, because obviously you had to be a big fan of it to bring all these kind of references into it. So
Yeah, I'm a seasonal anime watcher, for better or for worse. I still watch anime pretty seasonally. I don't read a lot of manga. I read some like just to keep up with like whatever is big. Like I'm up to date with Kaiju number 8, which is really popular, and
yep.
Chainsaw Man, which is really popular, and One Piece. I'll read the really big mangas, but for the
Okay.
most part, I watch seasonal anime. So like right now, this season, for example, I'm watching Bocchi the Rock, which is probably my favorite anime of the season. Mob Psycho, the couple of the other big ones, Chainsaw Man, of course. But I just like anime. I just watch a lot of anime, like way too much anime, which is
Yeah.
weird because I think we're the only fandom that consumes content in such a wide net,
Yeah.
just because it's all anime. Even though like there's so much genres, so much different like tastes involved,
Mm-hmm.
like nobody would say, "Oh, I'm a live action TV fan." Like it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just such a wide net. But I don't know. For some reason, the culture of anime is just like that, and I just watch a lot of anime. I watch all the anime that I can, that I have the time for, basically.
Yeah. I watch it when I get the chance to. Manga. I've read a couple light novels. I was reading the Huerta from Commonplace to World Strongest, the light novel version, because
Oh
apparently
wow.
that's a lot better than the anime. When it comes to CGI and stuff like that, they didn't do a good job. Uh, and
That's
I've also yeah, it's essentially one of those dark anti-heroes where he's
I remember this. I remember it's
yeah,
the isekai when he like loses his arm, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The story is much better than the adaptation.
That's
And
a lot of yeah. Sometimes the anime, that's just what happens. But like, I think anime right now is there's a lot of them that's just like designed purely to get people into the original source material.
yes,
Uh,
the biggest one
yeah.
that I still will never forgive for that is the the weakest night. Can't remember what the whole name of that title is. The one where the it's the
Was it an isekai?
no, it's the one where he has the flame princess that he like falls in love with.
Oh, I probably don't haven't heard of this one then. This is a pretty stacked season right now though. Like
This one was
I'm
from a
watching. watching more anime than I do on most seasons with the heroine that tames the last boss, the
Sorry, Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
Chivalry of Failed Knight. I have not watched that. No.
That one,
Failed Knight.
the manga of that one was made purely to sell the light novel because it actually stops at a certain part and says you can continue the story in the light novel. And I was like, why?
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, that's what it is. I think ultimately the light novels I think sells not so much as sells the most is that I think light novels make the most money.
Yeah, I mean,
Anime, I don't think actually by itself make a ton of money. Like obviously you can sell ads, but that really money really is really going back to the network. And then they make
yeah,
most of their money off merch. But the goal of most anime adaptations is to sell the light novel or the manga.
or the
Usually light novel.
toys, or the products that go with
Oh
it,
yeah, or
because
merch. Merch makes a lot of money.
yeah, because I mean, and that's why people sometimes are like, I really like this anime, but there's no second season. Like, there's not going to be. Nobody watched it, so it's
Yeah.
not worth it for them. You
Mob
know,
Psycho is really good this season. Spy Family, of course. Hero Academia, I'm still up to date on. Golden Kamuy is actually an amazing series. Oh
I
man, it's super funny, super funny.
I haven't had a chance to start that one yet. I'm caught up on Hunter x Hunter. I'm just
Oh man,
waiting.
I'm not watching Hunt x Hunter. I never got into it as a kid for some reason. That's like the one big series that like I feel like I should be into or I should
I
pick up.
will I will say that it's a very different show in the sense of, it's got a really good power system that they created. Definitely has its broken parts and stuff like that don't make sense, but overall the series broken into different arcs, and a lot of the arcs really don't have much to do with each other, and it's kind of silly.
It's got the One Piece effect, maybe.
It's definitely got the One Piece effect, but it's in a much more condensed version because I think there's only like 140 episodes.
Yeah, One Piece is long. I'm caught up to it, but like One Piece is like getting so good right now. It feels like all these separated like episodes have really met up in the last arc. It's crazy.
It's really amazing how he's been able to keep it going for so long.
It's I wonder what's gonna happen after One Piece ends. Just like as a culture, something's gonna change. I feel like once One Piece is over, culturally something's gonna be we're gonna be missing something culturally. Although I feel like the owners of One Piece, Shonen Jump, I don't think they'll ever really let it die. They'll probably continue to
I mean, it's
like
kind
spin-offs.
of like Naruto, where we thought it was going
Right.
to be done, and then they said, nope, now he's got a kid.
Here's Boruto. Yeah, I mean, I think that's I feel like Boruto doesn't have like kind of the same cultural presence as Naruto did at the time, which is of course it makes sense, and but it's still doing really well, so it's making a lot of money. I think it's gonna be the same thing as Game of Thrones, right? Like Game of Thrones was amazing, and now there's a prequel, and I think there's like they're working on several other spin-offs as well.
Or it's
Um,
like The Walking Dead.
yeah, and
The
Walking Dead with all its different games and stuff.
Well, The Walking Dead, the original author, he finished his comic. It's done. It's been done for years, and they're still just kind of they're on their own story path now, and that's the only
Yeah.
bad thing.
It's
And
I think they have a lot of leeway because the Walking Dead universe it's overall not like super. It's not super unique. It's just a zombie apocalypse, and so like they can really just take that brand and do a lot with it.
yeah, the
Uh,
one thing I've learned I don't like is when companies decide to change the story before the author's finished it. The biggest one for that is Akame ga Kill.
I remember that anime having a crazy ending compared to the manga. I do remember that.
It was entirely different, and that's because
Yeah.
the author hadn't finished the book yet or the
Mhm.
manga yet by the time that the anime was produced. I think they had only gotten through like half of it or something like that,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. They
they
ended
just
at the part where like she gets kept kidnapped. The main character is kidnapped and then like put on a display about to be executed, and then all of a sudden everybody shows up, everybody dies, and then the whole show wraps up. I was like, oh,
yeah,
well, that
yeah,
was
then
fast.
and
uh
it, yeah, it was that's the only thing I don't like about those kind of when the series does those things. Is
On the bright side, though, the anime actually ended. Most of these adaptations just end on a cliffhanger.
that is also true. That is
Yeah, so
also
that's
true.
kind
There's at
of
least an end.
the one, the grass is always greener. The one silver lining. It's like, at least the anime is technically self-contained.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that's
doesn't happen
true.
very often now. Like all these, like having an anime that's actually from beginning to end a self-contained thing is really feels really rare now. Like Licorice Recoil was the most recent one, and I guess I'd have to skip a season and go back to like Odd Taxi and before that. Yeah, like it's pretty. It's like one every season ish. That's like a good, not like there's a lot of them, but like a good
Yeah,
original anime that actually has a beginning and an end.
I can't remember. Was Charlotte an original anime?
Yeah. Charlotte was really good. Everything that studio puts out is pretty up there. I like the twist for Charlotte at the end, where it's like,
Yes.
oh, so it's actually a psychological horror for a bit. It's oh man, Angel Beats, same thing. Everything they put out is really good. Um, but yeah, like it's just overall, most anime feels like it's an adaptation, and then it ends, and it's like maybe they'll get another season, maybe not. Go read the light novel.
Yeah. The one I'm interested in, I think I can't remember if they're going to turn into an anime or not. Is the wrong way to use healing magic.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't know because I do not read manga,
Uh,
like actively find manga to read.
that one is hilarious because essentially healing magic's not a very common magic in that world. It's an isekai,
Mhm.
and they totally break the system for training because all they do is whenever they get exhausted or tired, they heal themselves and they keep working out. And essentially, all the healers are super strong, super buff people that are essentially monsters on the battlefield.
There's a there's another isekai, or not an isekai technically. It's time travel isekai, and the main character is a healer that I think we should probably not mention
Yeah,
on the
no,
show.
we don't talk about that one.
Oh
But
man, isekai is such a broad term of a genre now. Like, there's a lot of isekai that's teleport to a different dimension, but not really a different world, or even just like go back in time is technically considered isekai now. Oh, the
yeah,
new Sonic shows an isekai. This I don't know if you saw Netflix coming out with a new Sonic
okay,
series, and it's an isekai. It's Sonic gets transported to a different dimension, where like Tails and all the other characters are like, whoa, they're cyborgs, and then he gets teleport to a world where Knuckles is a pirate. It's like what a
wow.
what a formula. It's great.
I mean, it's kind of like what they did with Kingdom Hearts. I mean, the Kingdom Hearts is
Yeah.
essentially going to another world. It's like it was a combination that we did not believe would ever work, and it actually did.
Oh man.
I, I don't know how they did it. Maybe it's because they waited 10 years between each game.
Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts is too complex. I played uh 365 days over two, and that's it. Like, I played that standalone, and then I was like, I don't think I can get into the series. It's too much.
That it's a lot. I mean, I don't really get a chance to play any of the kind of RPGs or JRPGs anymore.
It's a time sink.
It
Huge
is.
time sink. Yeah.
Yeah, with kids,
I
that's
don't
just
play
this
enough
is
games. I want to play more games. I want to play more board games. I want to play more video games, but it just feels like I don't know. The board game like designing and publishing is just all the time that I have. I just put
yeah.
into it. Oh man, I hopefully I can quit my job when this is over, so then I can actually have one job
Yeah.
and be able to play games again.
Yeah, well, and speaking of the game, I mean, you were talking about you had the two initial versions. What was the last tier that you were talking about? You said there was three tiers.
Oh yeah. For the actual Kickstarter itself, it's the base tier
Yeah,
is just the game itself, all the game characters, but they're just cards. And the second tier, the middle tier, the deluxe tier, is you get the acrylic standees and you get playmats. So in the regular game, it's just cardboard game boards that you would
yeah.
find in any board game. The deluxe is you get play mats. It's soft, it's nice to touch, and also acrylic standee, so it's going to look really nice. You don't need either of those things to play it. Obviously, that's what makes it deluxe. And then the
Yeah.
final tier is just essentially art tier. It's like if you really like art, the last tier adds a art book. So it's going to be a perfect bound art book. So it's going to be a nice art book with all the art from the game. It's going to add a print that's going to be signed by the team. So that print's going to be exclusive. Both the print and the book will be exclusive to the Kickstarter because we're not gonna print more of those and sell those because nobody's going to really
Yeah.
buy those in a regular market. And then also to really entice people to buy this last tier, their name will be listed in the credits on the rulebook. So
Awesome.
hopefully, if the people who really like the aesthetic, really like the idea of the project, like what we're doing, that's sort of the tier
Yeah.
that give us a little extra as to support us in however way you can, right?
Yeah. And so, how did playtesting for this kind of game go? Because I mean,
It's just a lot. Yeah, it's a competitive dueling game, right? So it's just
yeah,
methodically playing it over and over and over, hundreds of games. And of course, like the whole process is fluid. Like we'll play and play. Something's wrong, we'll fix it. We'll rebalance. We'll play. And then it wasn't until basically the last 5 to 6 months ish when we're like, okay, we have to get serious. We have to start locking things, right? And the idea behind that is now within the home stretch is we've ironed out all the kinks to the system, to the overall game design itself. We've overall figured out what makes a character fun, what makes a
yeah,
gameplay fun, what makes cards interesting. And now it's just one character at a time. Have that character play every other locked character, and then make sure play it multiple times. Different match, different I play we take turns playing as the character we're testing. We take turns going first or second
mm-hmm.
until we say, okay, this one's locked, and then we move on to the next one. So it's just exponential number of times of playtesting each matchup methodically to make sure things are balanced. So it's a competitive dueling game. So it's very, very important to make sure it's actually balanced once it goes out in the wild.
Okay.
So
Is
yeah,
there is
it's a
there
lot.
going to be like a solo mode or anything like that? Have you
So
guys?
I really want to add a solo mode, and I think we're gonna say it's gonna be a stretch goal,
Okay.
but it's gonna be hard to implement out the gate because effectively, there's a lot of dueling games that have solo modes, like uh what is the game that I just got? Oh boy. Basically the publisher took this one versus one dueling game and added a solo mode to it. Embryo Machine. It's a dueling game about piloting mechs, Embryo Machine. And
Okay.
so the solo mode essentially we'll have to add components. We'll have to add a AI deck, essentially an AI driven deck to pilot your opponent.
Yeah.
And so that's not going to be something we are focusing on out the gate. And if we make a lot of money and we hit that stretch goal, yeah, I want to add a solo mode because I know
Okay.
a lot of solo gamers. I play some solo games on my own. So yeah, it's we'll try to get there. I'll try to get there.
Okay. So it's possible, but it just really depends on how enthusiastic everyone is about the game. Because
Yeah, at its core, it's a 1v1 competitive dueling game. But we
okay,
definitely want to create essentially like a training dummy mode where each character comes with an AI deck that you can just train
okay,
against.
yeah, that would be a unique way to have the solo mode go. It's not so much that it's
Hmm.
a competitive; it's you're working out your strategies for the game.
Hmm.
And what's the future look like for React? Like, what's the goal after you get funding? Is it one of those ones where it's going to be all contained within this, or is there going to be like expansions in the future? Like you have future characters you want to do and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I am future proofing it right now already. The game box itself, if you get the deluxe edition box, will fit up to 16 characters, and the goal is to expand upon the game by adding more characters. It's I'm very confident in the gameplay. We
Yeah,
have a very very solid foundation, uh, and it's a very free flowing foundation. Unlike games like BattleCon or Seed, where there's very balanced, fine tuned stats, where there's like these like core stats every card has. In BattleCon, the idea is that every card has a range and attack speed. Here, it's very chess-like, and every character just plays a totally different game. So we have a very free form factor for what a character can be like, but the foundation is still very solid. So I'm very confident that if it fun's well and people like it, we can infinitely expand this game with more characters.
That's always
So
awesome.
yeah, we have one stretch goal. Kind of the shooting for the stars stretch goal first is at 150K. We'll add a ninth character for free. Everybody will just get a ninth character for free.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the shooting for the stars goal, right? Like it's hopefully we get to 150K. That would be incredible.
Okay. And so what's the goal for the project
Just
itself?
yeah, just 20 grand. 20 grand is all we need to print 1,000 copies and get it out the door. Uh,
Okay.
well,
That's
not
definitely
yeah. 20 grand will print 500 copies and get those
yeah.
shipped out. So
That's definitely doable. I mean, in this kind of world and stuff like that.
hopefully, yeah,
Um,
fingers crossed.
well, honestly, though, I mean, I saw the little video that you put up on YouTube earlier of your game trailer, essentially.
Yeah,
So that I saw that made its way on the Board Game Geek, and so I watched that. And it looked interesting. And I also saw your how to play video as well when you did a playthrough, and I'm going to include that link in the video as well. That way, people can go and watch that to kind of get another feel on exactly what it looks like. Because um, it sounds like a pretty solid game. Just looking at what you've provided me to look at and what you've had on the internet, it's it's ready. It just needs to
I'm
be
very yeah.
made.
I'm
It
excited
just
for it. Yeah, we've done all the art, done all the playtesting, all the balancing. It's just whether or not people want it, so then we can print it right at this point. So
yeah.
fingers crossed.
Well, I think you were sitting at a little over 500 followers so far on Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, yeah. So if history proves itself, usually followers convert itself to backers at a 1-to-4 ratio. So
Yeah.
we should have 150-ish backers on day one. Hopefully, that's the
Hopefully.
hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you made it to the end of listening to us just talk about anime, yeah, React is coming to Kickstarter November 29th. It might already be live when you see this. If so, go check it out. React, it's semicolon act. Very important. The semicolon is in there because of anime. And it also makes it a little bit easier to search. If you just Google React board game, include anime, and that's how you'll find it. Because there's another board game called React. It's a organic chemistry board game. So we're competing with them. And yeah, it's coming to Kickstarter. Hopefully it does well. And you can find me, Brother Ming. I go by Brother Ming Games on Twitter, Instagram, both Brother Ming Game on both platforms. And yeah, I mostly just post pictures about my cats and anime. So that's it for me.
All right. And I mean, I appreciate you coming on here to kind of talk with us about the game and just
Yeah,
show
thank
your
you.
enthusiasm in general. I mean, you're very enthusiastic about the world of anime, and you're very enthusiastic as wanting to make a game. And it's not something you just threw together. You've dedicated yourself to this. It's very obvious.
Too many nights, too many years, lots of sleepless nights.
Yeah. What do you think was the hardest thing of board game development that you faced?
Uh Honestly, it's just how much work it is. I don't think any particular part is impossible to overcome. It's just
Yeah.
it's grind. It's designing a game just for fun is very fun. The process of iterating a design, thinking about rules and how to make a game work, that part's really fun. It's very free flowing. You just write things on cards and just put it to the table. But making something into a product is just a long process. It's product development, right? I have to coordinate
Yeah.
the art, coordinate the trailer, make sure the Kickstarter goes up, reviews are done, photos are taken, 3D renders are made, which most of it's done by me. I've learned how to make 3D renders. I've learned how to do some graphic design. I've learned how to work with voice actors. I've learned like everything, right? It's just a lot of work. I don't think any particular part is incredibly hard, but I think the work of making something into a reality is just about putting in the hours. That's really all it is.
That's
Uh,
definitely what I've learned from talking to a lot of the board game designers is that they just say you just need to do it.
yeah, it's just
If you
it's just
don't,
about putting the hours into it.
yeah, and if you don't try, then of course nothing will ever come out of it. you started off with fan projects, but now you've grown it and you've wanted to take this leap into designing your own game. It's your own characters. It's your own unique style of gameplay. In the sense of there's not many games like this in the board game world right now.
I don't think so. And so again, the game is designed by Chris Lin. He's kind of like the lead designer, as we call him. I call myself the lead publisher, and we call Eric the lead developer slash balancer. We all had a hand in designing the game, but it is very much so like, yeah, creating a unique experience. I don't think there's anything like it on the market. Most other dueling games have a lot more restrictions in terms of like how the game is played and how it's balanced. We have a very free form style 1v1 dueling game, and it's the only dueling game that's very heavily inspired by traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Without the mana cost system, without the and actually having a grid. A lot of these games don't have grids. And the ones that do have grids, like Summoner Wars, they don't have this idea of a stack. And so all of these combined, right? Like I think we are positioned to be a very unique board game, especially if you used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic. Like if you are, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you played TCGs, and now you play board games on the side. You want to recapture that magic. I think we are providing something that's very unique, and that should scratch all those itches perfectly.
Yeah. And so, where are some other places that they can go to kind of learn a little bit more about the game or you in general? Like, where's the best place? I know you kind of mentioned some, but
Yeah. If you just
um,
go to React Board Game, so both on BGG, but on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, it's React Board Game, all one word, no semicolon actually in the usernames. Uh, at the very top, it's always going to be pinned links to our rulebook, our tabletop simulator mod, our screen top mod, so you can play it now. You can find a how to play video on YouTube. You can find videos of me and Eric, our lead developer, playing the game. The game only takes about 15 minutes to play. They're very fast, snappy dueling games. So yeah, there's a lot of breadth of content that we've already created that has pretty bad SEO because React the board game is a organic chemistry game. So darn those people. But we have a semicolon, so it's okay.
yeah, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I'll make sure I'll include all those links down below. So if you're watching this video, you'll find links to the Tabletop Simulator mod, Board Game Geek, all those. They'll all be down there. All right.
All right. Thank you so much once again. And thank you to everybody who listened to this end.
Yeah, so thank you guys for staying around and watching this video. I'm Officer Brush, and this was Brother Ming from Brother Ming Games, and his project is going to launch in November at the end.